Hello there and welcome to Jimi and Janis Laid Bare. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Janice.
And this is our podcast. We are the Jimi and Janis Affair, and on our podcast Laid Bare, we will be discussing all things the band. So we will go through the music, the lyrics, the themes of the songs, the recording process, and then at the end of each episode we'll do a Rate That Affair, and we'll take the theme of the song and we'll talk about maybe a personal situation from our own life that relates to it, and then we can either sympathise or laugh at each other about it.
It'll be really interesting. We could even see who's maybe decided to handle the situation or the circumstance better, so this will be interesting.
Who bosses the situations better?
Which personality does what? That'll be fun.
Well, this is our debut episode, and it coincides with our debut single, Dipped Out, which is out now, by the way. And since you wrote this song, Janice,
I did.
I think I'll maybe start off by maybe leading some of the questions. I'm sure it'll just end up the two of us chatting about it, but we'll go for that style.
So let's dive in then.
Let's go straight in. So, I suppose, what is Dipped Out all about?
Well, dipped out means to leave. That's what the phrase means. So I was watching a reality TV programme that I would like. And this guy on the programme, kept using this phrase, dipped out, dipped out, dipped out, dipped out. And the actual phrase just stuck with me. And I was like, that sounds quite cool. But the way he was using it was really awful. So I was
It was like
I'm
the
gonna
most
use this.
pathetic excuse.
Oh, it was. So that's where the title of the song came from. But the actual context of the song, so it's based on this guy from this reality TV programme. And his actions. So he had the ultimate affair on reality television for everybody to see.
It's just the way you want to do it.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was proper popcorn. It was really great. So he had an affair. He was in a 9-year relationship and then had an affair with his girlfriend's best friend.
Oh,
dangerous.
Dangerous territory.
Dangerous. And obviously they were trying to keep it a secret and the downplaying. And then the mistress, if you will, ended up being late for her shift the next day. And then the boss knows the guy that she was hanging about with, so phones the guy and was like, hey, what happened? She was late. Like, what was going on? Was anything going on? His girlfriend was out of town at her grand's funeral. So that's another extra layer on top of that. So he's talking to the boss on the phone and he's basically trying to make excuses and be like, I don't know what happened to her, she just dipped out, I don't know why she's late, she just dipped out for the party, we were still keep going, I don't know, she just dipped out. And I was laughing at this, I was watching it was great, it was really good. And I thought, oh, it's an interesting personality type to kind of look at. And concurrently to that, we have a mutual friend who we were working on a project with who was very much like that as well. So it was quite funny to see it on TV and then have a person in our lives who was pretty much like acting like this guy. And the terminology that was coined during this time was Peter Pan syndrome, talking about men who never grow up, and never accept responsibility or even take responsibility for certain things. And yeah, when I was seeing this on TV and then watching our friend go through this as well, I was like, we're on to something here.
This is it. And I think there's, unfortunately, there are quite a few men who are perhaps like that. They might be in their 30s or even their 40s and they still think they're a teenager or early 20s.
I'm sure, there's probably people out there who know somebody
this is
like
it.
this.
So I think people could probably relate to that issue quite well.
Yeah.
Which is quite funny.
And to be fair, the song really is like, personally speaking, from watching and experiencing what we went through with this person, kind of looking at the car crashes and the drama and having to put up with that and feeling like I'm kind of stuck in the middle because I can't say anything, because if you do, you don't know if you're going to say the right thing or do they even want the advice. So again, it was like that sense of being pushed and pulled. And again, writing music, it's a great way to communicate emotions, so I thought let's write a wee song about this.
Well, why don't we start, because I think we're kind of almost hinting into the lyrics there, but I think we'll hold that off just at the moment, and we'll start with the music. So it's got such a real big guitar sound. why did that come about? Why was that the kind of direction? Because if I remember correctly, you started it on the acoustic guitar.
That's right, because it was all we had. It was all we had. Like, we are two musicians. Jimmy's a bassist by nature. I'm a cellist by trade. So coming together, we've only got like our instruments that we use, and then we've got an acoustic, you know. So I was like, right, picking up the acoustic and then having a go. So I started writing, came up with a chord sequence, like out of the 5 chords that I can play.
Well,
I came up with a great sequence for 3, and I thought, brilliant, right, that's cool. And I'd been listening to a lot of 90s music at the time while I was working. Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, Courtney Love's band Hole as well. I just love that like big noisy guitar sound, PG Harvey with like a female vocal. I've always enjoyed that.
It was a good period for that stuff.
I know, and listening to sort of modern day stuff, I've not really found anybody that I've really been like, oh yeah, that's it, that's the one. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a wee go at kind of writing something in that ilk.
It's quite funny when you were going through the influences there that you also left out somebody at a band.
Oh no, who?
Well, when we were recording, we were trying to get like this big guitar sound that you were just been chatting about, and wasn't quite happening. And you said words I'd never thought I'd hear Janice said.
Oh no, you're on. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm going to go there. Janice was like, I think it needs to sound more Oasis, which is unbelievable because Janice hates Oasis.
I do, and that's thanks to my dear brother. He was a massive Oasis fan growing up. He was definitely like into that ilk of tunes.
But to be fair to you, you were looking for like off their first album, which is a cracking album.
I know. Like I felt that in the walls in our house growing up, you know. And often my brother and I would have like stereo wars, you know, like he'd have Oasis blaring, you know, and I'd have like some alt rock, like heavy metal pumping at my bedroom as well. So it was loud. It was loud.
But you clearly remembered the guitar sound, and it suits the song really well because it's very driving. It's that big sound again, and it's so nice to hear that.
So if you look at Noel's tune from, is it Supersonic?
That's right, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's the guitar sound that I was after. And it harps back to that late 90s, early 2000s sort of Marshall stacks, you know, and big, ballsy guitars. And I've always enjoyed that, like, sonically. I just think that's a brilliant kind of sphere to be in. I find it really comforting and comfortable one to be in. I've always enjoyed that.
I was good because I remember when you brought it to me, I was thinking, right, what am I going to do here on the bass? Because from one respect, you could be like, well, I could just play along with the chords, you know, with the rhythm, keep it simple, and that'll give it a certain sound. There'll probably be a bit of drive to it still. But I was like, just be really boring, you know. So I was really pleased when I came up with that bit more, I suppose, like that. It's still driving, but it's got a bit more of a groove in the bass line, and it just allowed the guitar just to sit on top of it and be that big ballsy sound.
Well, the only reason we got the big ballsy sound we're talking about is because with the acoustic I was like, it's not really got the oomph that I need. And then I was like, we need to go buy an electric. We've got to go. That's
right, that's when we bought the electric. Aye.
So we were doing our living room jam, and I was, you know, I'm playing the chords on the acoustic, and you know, you're doing your wee bit on the bass, and I was like, this is sounding really cool. I was like, but I think we need a bit of distortion here, eh? And then, dragged you up to the guitar shop and was like, let's go buy a guitar. Yeah,
that's where we got the guitar. And then, because this was really the song that kicked it all off, the whole Jimi and Janis affair.
Yep, absolutely. So once we got the guitar home, I was like, nice one. And then it just came to life after that. And it's just the two of us, so we've not got a drummer. So we've got a little TR8 wee drum machine. So we programmed the beat into that, and then you got some samples, and then we programmed the actual sort of drum sounds into the song. So it was really cool, like, to put it all together, and that's sort of how we formulate and put our tunes.
Yeah, that's how we've kind of done the whole drum sound. It would be quite nice to have a drummer for our album too, but I've actually really enjoyed, because the sounds, the kick, the snare, whatever, are actually real kick and snare sounds, so it sounds real that way. But because we've programmed it, it's more, I suppose, like electronic or dance music, that sense, but it's a lot straighter.
It's a bit of a different, it's a more like rigid way to work, but I actually quite like it as well at the same time.
It was really cool. So you've got the big sound for the verse, and then it kind of drops into a more softer chorus.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that then?
Well, looking at the situation that we were dealing with, like with our friend, the one thing with these types of people is like they just kind of bulldoze their way through life, and people just become collateral damage. And I've often wondered what it's like when they go home, when the door closes. What's it like behind the scenes? Because really it's like it's their own wee bubble, being a person who has like Peter Pan syndrome, or you're just a bit of a toxic friend or whatever, in that respect. When you're in your own headspace, like where does your brain go? Is there reflection? And that's why I wanted to strip the chorus back a bit, bring it down, kind of make it sound more insular so that it kind of gives that connotation of being stuck in your own mind, but then having that element of self-reflection as well, and that's why, like, talking about lyrics, living in a haze on your own appears appears twice, I think, in the chorus is lyrically.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of fueling that feeling of like, okay, what's it like when you're actually by yourself?
What does go? It always fascinates me that what goes on in other people's heads, especially if you are a bit like a bull in a china shop, and then you do go home. Are you still just?
Do you analyse it, or do you just like, oh well, that was that then?
You still just blasé to all the, it was just whatever, move on to the next thing.
Yep.
Where the rest of us are like, oh, what actually happened? What was that all about? I want to talk about the instrumental bit as well.
Oh.
So after the second chorus, it bursts out, and what I love is like it's violins. Normally, you get the guitar out for that, but as you're saying, you're a cellist, but you can also play the violin. And we thought, for the solo part, why not try it on the violin, do something a bit different? And it sounds rocking. I love that bit.
Absolutely. Oh, like cracking at the violin was quite different, to make that like just a punch, just that tiny little bit, just a wee riff there, just to almost smack the reality back into your face. That's that was the idea behind that bit. And the guitar's really crunchy, and it's a wee bit broken down, the rhythm gets a bit cut up, and that's sort of like the clouds clearing, of being in a situation and then taking a step back and going, right, I feel a bit better now, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're going to get like out of this is going to be better.
So that's really interesting how it plays into the theme of the lyrics.
Yep. And the violins were, really kind of like, I wanted to make them sound quite raw. I didn't want them sounding pretty. It's not pretty. Going through difficult things with your pals can be really messy and quite ugly.
Yeah.
So I wanted the violins to sound raw. I wanted them to pack a punch. And I think the way that they play off with the guitar, I think just emphasises that.
I definitely think you nailed it. I love it. I love that bit. Well, since we've kind of been hinting on the lyrics and that breaking out, let's get into the lyrics. So, first verses, what are we kind of talking about at this point?
Well, lyrically, if you go and watch the lyric video, that should be up by the time you see this, you'll see it, the first verse is down, deeper down, he's pulling. So it's almost like you're getting dragged into situations, but you're also getting dragged down by it as well, because you're having to listen to...
They're quite draining people.
Yeah, you're having to listen to loads of drama and just try and be like... And it can feel like a whirlwind half the time. So... He's pushing, it's like pushing the boundaries, kind of stepping over lines that you shouldn't really be crossing and stuff, So that's sort of where the context of the first verse is. And then the idea of this like pulling, pushing with the backing vocals is that being sort of caught in the middle and stuck. And no knowing where to turn. You're being pushed one way and pulled in the other, and you're like, whoa, like it's really hard to find some kind of stability in this situation.
It makes a lot of sense as well, because just putting a wee bit more context around onto it as well, the situation that we were going through, it was like a whirlwind as well, because it wasn't just one thing. It seemed to be one thing after the other.
Oh, it was a spiral. It was like snowball.
So when you're talking about being pushed and pulled, I think about that like on one issue, and then before you can even get your centre of what's going on, it's like the next thing's in, and you're going through the same process, and then it just keeps happening, and you're forever going, what the hell?
I know, but even if you think of one, if you take one thing, that's happened, and you've gone through and you've watched your mate do something, and you're just like, what? You reflect about the good, the bad, every aspect of it, or I do anyway, and I'm thinking to myself, like, was that the right thing? Was it not the right thing? Should I have said something? Should I have no? Should I have stepped up? Should I have stepped back? You know, it's constant, that to and fro, and that's basically what the backing vocals and the repetition of the lyrics kind of sort of drive home a wee bit, I think.
So it's really interesting. The verses are kind of concentrating on the impact that their actions have on yourself, and then we'll talk a bit more then, I suppose, about the chorus, where it's more of like I suppose it's your thoughts, but thinking about, are you actually reflecting?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's kind of, I don't know, how do you break it? It's kind of like breaking the walls down a wee bit, you know?
Yeah.
Is there that element of self-reflection there, you know, but it's me sort of like pointing things out, you know, going through it in my head thinking, well, you're living in a haze, it's your own wee bubble, you know, you're doing this on your own, you know, it's gambling on your future last, you know, I think is a really pertinent point, because they never seem to take responsibility for what's happening presently in their life, and then by the time they get to wherever they feel settled and comfortable, they're like, oh my gosh, look at this amount of time that I've done nothing, I've wasted, you know. So and that's why your future's last, because you're so busy, like, just in the mad mix of the present and going through the drama and the emotions, that you're not even thinking about where you might end up, or where you would like to be, even, you know, what your future looks like, or what. And then clinging along the way is that where you're just grappling on to anything and anybody to help you sort of, or help them get through that, you know.
You've just put a beautiful image in my mind.
What's that?
You know, when sometimes you go to gigs and you'll see guys who are maybe in their like mid-50s or early 60s, but they're still dressing like their early 20s, and it just looks ridiculous. And it's that idea, like, they're just clinging by their fingernails onto the last of their youth.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it's like. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And just see these guys with their leather jackets and their ill-fitting.
I know, but some of them look cool.
Yeah, some of them do pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that encourages the rest.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's like the second verse is about me getting like annoyed by it, you know, like you're pulling on my crown, it's like you're taking my like self-esteem and confidence away with that. And then my freckled frown is me getting annoyed, you know, and be like, oh, come on, you can, you know, see what's actually happening here and happening in front of you and what you're doing to us. Because obviously, like, when you're dealing with people like that, you know, you become collateral damage. You know, you're in the firing line, and you're just like, oh, God.
Because in a sense as well, you become invested, especially if it's a friend, and like the outcome for their behalf. You want it to go well.
Absolutely.
And then when it just keeps getting more and more, and it sometimes can be a bit ridiculous as
just
well.
Gets worse, eh?
Yeah, you're just like,
absolutely gets worse.
And again, I suppose that's why it becomes draining as well, because you're emotionally invested, and it's like, no, this isn't worth it.
Yeah, and then the last verse is basically where I switch it, and I'm like, do you know what? Goodbye.
So this is after the instrumental.
Yeah.
It's like the fog's broke.
Yeah.
It's clear day, and you're just like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I am dipping out of the situation. Have fun with your crazy. I will see you later. That's basically, so it switches round, and then the last sort of my favourite bit, actually, like you talked about your favourite bit being the wee instrumental break. My bit is actually the very last part of the tune, where we've got the repetition of he's got no regrets at all. And that part came to me at back at 1 a.m. after I'd been listening to the tune and our mix that we'd done in the early stages. And I was like, it needs a wee bit of something at the end. And because obviously no regrets at all is quite a pertinent line in the song as well. And I quite like that ethos, you know, that you can stand up for yourself and leave a situation knowing that, you know, and you can do that with no regrets because it makes you feel good that you've done the right thing.
You're kind of in that confident kind of stage. You're like, I've got this.
Absolutely. And then I was like, just a repetition of that line over and over again, because obviously that's sometimes what it can be like. You just go round the hamster wheel, you know, with these people. So, and then there's the wee tongue-in-cheek line of, or has he? Because I've often wondered whether this person had any regrets. Has any regrets? Has thought about what the consequences of the situation were, or whether he's just like, what?
I think that's quite good, actually, because during the choruses you're kind of reflecting on the fact that, do they reflect? And it's almost thinking, well, if they do they even regret it?
Exactly.
You know? We'll just kind of go on to that, just to give people a bit of background of how we came together as the Jimi Janis Affair. was we were working on another project with somebody else, as we've been explaining about this track. And that person was a singer, a guitarist, and we were still without a drummer.
We've got a machine.
We've got a machine.
Exactly. It's cool.
And they had to...
Applications in the comments.
Exactly. Thank you, please. But they had to move to another city. Fair enough, you know. So we were a bit like Joy Division. We lost our lead person, and we were like, what are we going to do? We're going to do a new order. And we're just going to do it ourselves. But it's quite funny being a bassist and a cellist. You know, like we're so low, the low end. So, but we're like, no, let's stuff it. Let's just do it. And neither of us, as you said, are lead singers or anything like that. But I mean, I suppose it's a good time to ask as well about the recording process.
Oh,
because it was the first one we've done. You were first up. How did you find recording your vocal, doing a lead vocal?
probably like Jim Morrison the first time he sang in public with the Doors. I was glad I was behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Scary, really scary, because like I said, I've sat with a massive instrument in front of me. You know, I play the cello, so again, you can kind of sort of like hide behind that. That becomes your voice. You know, you get really comfortable with your instrument because you've played it for so long. It becomes part of you. So just to be me up at the microphone and then get comfortable with my vocal in a sense of like, right, this is how I sound, this is how I sing, this is it. I had to get really comfortable quite quickly.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the fact though, can I just say, because obviously you know that like naturally I'm quite introverted and I get a bit shy, so you just hit the record button and then take yourself away and go shut the door, and you're like, I'm just gonna leave her to it. And that I really appreciate, because then I feel like I'm kind of in my wee box, and I can just do what I need to do and just go for it.
Well, I get it, because obviously with no being a singer as well, I feel under pressure sometimes when I'm singing, because I'm like, a normal singer, or a more, no, normal, that's the wrong way to put it, a natural singer would have a completely different process, and you'd be getting to the end game a lot quicker.
It'd be like you standing up there with your bass. You know what I mean? You know what you're doing, you plug it in and away you go,
and that's
right?
it.
And it's so natural to somebody who is a singer, you know, who that is their instrument. So
what in my mind, it's like it's creating the in the shower situation where we all sing in the shower, because the door's closed, the shower's on, and we...
I don't know if anybody needs that picture.
No, but it's that thing, everyone does it, or has done it, and it's like you convince yourself that nobody can hear you, so you go for it. But it's that idea, you need to create this bubble, this wee zone. You're like, right, it's just me. And we got there. We did. And it was a lot quicker for you than it was for me, as we'll discuss in later episodes.
Absolutely.
Oh, they were tough ones.
You're due me some money, pal. Let's say that. I feel like I've done my job 3 times over.
How did you find recording, doing the guitar parts? Because for me, for other tracks, like I've played like guitar my whole life, since I started learning. That was what I learned first, was to play the guitar. But recording rhythm, I think because it can be monotonous. Monotonous, or however you say it. Jimmy's lost here. But you know what I mean? So it's the same thing over and over, and your mind just wanders, and I kind of kept going out of time, or my rhythm would go off a bit, whereas with bass, my mind can wander and I can still do it. So it was like, because I suppose I didn't have much practice. How did you find it?
Fine.
No problem, Janice is on it. I'm a cellist,
How many times did it take me to put guitar down? Not many.
I think it was more about just getting the sound right rather than...
Not as many as you, dear Jimmy. But no, I do find playing guitar hard. I do, because again, it's not my first instrument. And it obviously playing string instruments is quite... It does have a similar feel and flavour, but I mean, it's 2 more strings than I'm used to. So, and a plectrum, you know, I'm used to holding a bow. It's a different... total different kettle of fish to the work. So again, I found it quite tough in some respects, but I think playing rhythm, I can keep time. I'm alright if I can play the chords I can play. So no, I found it alright. Like, I did find it alright. Some bits were frustrating on chords that I'm not so good at playing, because that took me a wee while, like the instrumental. So,
the instrumental bit's funny, because
it took me ages, and then I was like, you do it.
And what we're doing is, I suppose if anybody plays guitar, we know if you do like an F major but not bar chord, and you can move that up the frets, and you're basically playing like an F or a G or an A kind of thing, or it's a version of them. So we've done that for the instrumental, but as you said, your hand's no used to these shapes
or movements.
This is it.
Nope.
So I got that bit for you.
Thanks.
There you go. No problem. No probs at all. I think it's time now for the end section. We've discussed the music. We've done the lyrics, the theme behind the song. We've talked a bit about the recording process.
Where are you taking me?
And we're going to take you to the Rate That Affair.
All right, shall we disclose what this last section's about? Rate That Affair.
I'll let you take it away.
Right, so this end section to the podcast, this is a sort of a wee brainchild between the two of us, so we can sit and have a discussion about the theme of the song, but relate it to something personal between the two of us. So you get to know who we are a wee bit more. So what is the topic? So dipped out, and I think I've got a good one.
You got a good one?
I think so, yeah. So is there a situation you wish that you had dipped out from?
Right.
Ever? But you couldn't.
But I couldn't.
Stay. And do you dip out? Are you one of those people that you just leave?
Just leave.
Or are you one of those people that, you know, can stay on, ride on through?
Feels obliged to stay till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a dipper outer. Yeah, no. Jimmy goes, I'm quite happy to go to something, but I have a good time. And then if, say, it gets to 1 a.m. and I'm not having a very good time anymore, or like I feel the mood changing, I'll just dip out and go.
Do you say bye?
Of course. Hello.
You liar. Like, I have seen you just leave sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why I was saying hello. Sometimes it gets difficult. So what I found is, mostly when I was going out when I was younger, you know, if you're going to a club or whatever, you get to a certain point, you're like, right, I'm done now, I want to go. The music's got boring. I'm too poor to drink and get myself through this, so I'm kind of mostly sober listening to tunes that I'm not digging. This is hard to dance to. I'm going to go somewhere else. You know, but as you do that, your mate's like, oh no, you got to stay. And it takes about an hour to get through 20 you've got to stays, and you're explaining yourself. So after a while, you're kind of like, right, I'm just going to go now. And then people get used to that.
Right, okay.
You know, and they're like, that's just what Jimmy does. Jimmy stays till he's ready to go. And then once they get used to it, you can say, right, lads, I'm away now.
And they're like, see you later.
See you later.
Have a nice night.
Happy days. They have to go through this hour process. You know, I feel like it was a teacher moment for them.
You're never going to get invited anywhere again
know,
after
that's
this.
it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm out. So yeah, I mean, I do know that there's certain situations where, social situations where it's rude to dip out early, you know, and I have decorum. I will stay in these situations.
Grin and bear it.
This is it, with the smile up to my ears, getting through it all. Good times. But yeah, no, other than that, if there's no like serious social etiquette, then I'm out. See you later.
Oh, I kind of admire that a wee bit though. I like that tenacity.
Well,
that
so
confidence.
It's well, back to you then, Janice. Has there been any situations you wanted to dip out of the like extreme social situations that you're not allowed to? Is there any you thought, oh, I wish I'd dipped out of that, but you never?
I think so. A social situation where you're not like it's not kind of the done thing to just leave. So that would probably be something like, I don't know, like a birthday party, I've got it.
You got it?
Oh no! Right, yeah, a wedding. I don't know if I want to. Oh, but we'll agree. Okay, right, we're doing it. So we were at. So you and I had just got together. So this is years ago, back in our youth. You know, back in our youth. And a mutual friend of ours was getting married, so we got an invitation. Remember that wedding?
Remember.
Now he knows.
This is juicy.
Yeah.
Juicy.
So we get invited to this wedding, and obviously this person, like, you know, knows loads of people, and we had just got together. In fact, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in the context of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
All right.
So you can be the lion, Jimmy. You can be Aslan,
Thank you.
the moral compass, the one that's making sure, you know, everything's cool. So we gets to the wedding after party. Everybody turns up, and I just had an inkling that, you know, there might be some people there that I might not be too happy to see. So we walked through the door, and I clock in one corner the witch, but I'll dub him the creep. So
He's a creep.
This guy, I don't know how to describe him apart from like just really creepy and a bit of a stalker.
So
he would message me really random stuff, and was just quite leery. He would never just leave me alone if ever I seen him, and it was just really weird. So I walked in, first person I seen, I was like, oh no.
Like the best part is he was a married man.
Aye, but that's an extra layer in there. So we get there, clock 7, I'm like, right, okay, the creep, right, fine, that's manageable. So obviously there's plenty of drink at a wedding, isn't there? So there's me, just getting absolutely leathered, just to try and cope with the situation, thinking, is anything going to happen? Hopefully not. So then, fingers crossed, right? Then, in the other side of the room, I spot the wardrobe. The baggage.
The baggage. I was wondering where you're going with the wardrobe. I like that, the baggage.
The baggage. That is my ex there as well. So that was an interesting little... I think that was my own Bermuda Triangle, or I wanted it to be like. I just wanted to like disappear.
That was a brutal one.
Yeah. So as the party is progressing, chatting to some people, the creep's creeping. The ex is just kind of glancing over, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is really awkward. This is horrible, and I'm just drinking, just drinking. That's all I'm doing, just drinking, talking to people, trying to keep calm, but not just
distracted, basically.
Oh, I was not distracted. I was trying to get destroyed, so that I could forget. Self-destruction. And then with the creep creeping, I turn round, and then you, the lion, grabs the witch, and off you go into a room to go have a discussion. To go have a chat. And I'm chat. Like, so you just turn around and you're like, I'm away for a chat, and I'm like, right? So again, I'm just like, oh gosh, right?
I bet you wish you could have been a fly on that wall to find out what was going on.
To be honest with you, I'm actually quite... I didn't even think I asked you what you talked about, eh?
No, I mean...
No, I think I was like, I didn't want to know. I was like, I'm not wanting involved, and I was like, you've done your thing, whatever, right? I'm just going to have fun because I'm wasted.
Well, just to... I can't really remember the specifics of what we said, but the general theme was, do you want to back off? Janice doesn't want this. I didn't want this. Your wife over there, by the way, who's also in the room, probably doesn't want this as well. It's like, stop sending messages, stop being a creep, stop sending...
I was mortified.
Stop sending your weird poems. It's crap poetry to begin with. Enough is enough. Is enough. And he was not happy, but he listened because...
Oh, wow. I was shocked, Like, I was shocked. And you're like, it's fine. But while
sorted.
While this was happening, I'm obviously panicking. So...
Take yourself outside, eh? Go for a wee walk.
I did. I took myself outside.
Did you walk in, eh?
The ex. So I'm standing there, and he comes over, and he's like, hey, how's it going? And he's all like, you look really cold. Here's my jacket. And bearing in mind, it's a Scottish summer, so it is a bit chilly. And I'm like, yeah, totally, because I'm pure, absolutely rinsed. And so I put the coat on, and I'm standing having a chat. And we're chatting, to another couple of people as well. And then out walk you. And there's me standing in my ex's jacket. And the look of disdain was piercing in those eyes. I was like, uh-oh.
It's like I was dealing with the creep, come back out there, and there's you and your ex being all cozy, and you're wrapped up in his jacket, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
It was so bad.
It was so bad. I think my piercing eyes pierced right through your drunkenness, and we're like, whoa! What is happening?
Oh, and it was...
And the ex was trying to be all like, getting you all the chat and being all like inside jokey and that, and I was like, no. See, if Jimmy was on his own, you know what Jimmy would have done in that situation? Dipped right out. Like, I stopped having fun 5 minutes ago. I'm out.
Listen, I'm nice. I didn't want to come across as rude, and that's what I was trying to say. I was like, I just couldn't get out of the situation because it's your pal's wedding. Like, you cannot leave. You can't say, well, there's the creep, there's the ex, there's the new one, and I'm like,
the other.
I'm out here.
Gotta go.
You can't do that. So there you go. There's one situation where I really wanted the ground to swallow me hole
That's
in that moment. Honestly, I've never, and I didn't even remember getting home. Like,
No.
I don't even remember getting home. And any
Jimmy
time,
responsibly got you home.
thank you very much, and thank you for like dealing with all of that. That was
No probs.
wonderfully patient of you, wonderfully patient.
Oh, it's funny thinking about it. Who had the, I suppose, who had it harder or easier?
Oh, come on, I definitely had it harder.
You definitely had it
yours is
harder.
a choice. Like, yours is like, you know what, I'm done, I'm out of here, I've had enough.
See, and
Whereas I'm like, I can't go anywhere and look at the circumstances and the people. Oh my gosh, like, I felt so stuck. So I think I definitely had it harder.
yeah, but I definitely think that's why I like just leaving when I'm ready to leave, because it's like, yeah, who wants to be in these types of situations? I mean, don't get me wrong, years and years later it's really funny when looking back on it.
The hilarity. But yeah, it was quite intense at the time,
Yeah.
shall we say.
So even though I like my way of doing things, I think I have to give up to you, because that's a stonker.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get out and you're trapped. It's not even a rock and a hard place. You need a third point as well.
Yeah, that is probably the one situation I really wanted to dip out of the most, I think. Looking back, you know, it's particularly with a social situation you cannot get out of.
It's quite funny. I'm just thinking there after you're talking about with the lyrics about reflection. I wonder if the creep and the ex ever reflected on that situation.
They're probably like, good luck to him.
Hey man, I'm good.
Very good.
I lost my main, so I'm like Aslan.
But you gained a tail.
I'm Aslan light. Well, there we have it. That was Rate That Affair. So thank you so much for listening to our very first podcast.
You'll be able to listen to Dipped Out on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, anywhere you pick up your tunes. And you can also find us on YouTube as well, and TikTok with our shorts.
And Instagram.
Oh yeah, Instagram.
And we on both are at the Jimi and Janis Affair. And we will be back with our next episode of Laid Bare when single number 2 comes out.
Thank you so much for joining us. We shall see you next time. I'm Janice.
I'm Jimmy.
We'll see you later.